Thanks for listening to Gossip with Celebrity, brought to you by Celebrity.com. This week we talk about the royals. Our user feedback is from someone who's been listening to us for a year, and we end with our weekly feature, The Comments of the Week. The stories, photos, and tweets we talk about can be found at Celebrity.com/podcast under episode 86.
Ooh,
Hi, I'm Katie, the founder and editor. It's okay. Of Celebrity.com, and I write as Celebrity.
I'm Chandra. I'm the head writer for Celebrity, and I write as Kaiser. I always do that right when you're about to intro. I'm like, whoa!
It's okay. I don't care. I leave it in because it's funny. So this is our third week on, so we're going to be off next week. Hi, I'm recording this later. We also are going to be off April 4th because that's Easter. So we'll be off the next 2 weeks and back on April 10th.
Yay!
Yay, we earned a break. So I was going to talk about the fact that I signed up for that master class because they got me with just the right class that they know I would like because of my searches and everything. And I'm taking this bread baking class from this master French baker. And it's kind of fascinating. It's really soothing. I love making bread, but I've only made like one kind so far. And I'm starting to make like sourdough starter, and I'm buying the expensive mill flour from the butcher, and I'm trying to make fancy bread. So that's my new hobby. I really like baking. Like, I'm surprised how much I like baking and eating it.
Yeah, during lockdown, I've been surprised by how many good restaurants there are around me and how often I can get takeout and how long I can make it last. Like, I'll buy like $50 worth of takeout and just eat it for the rest of the week.
Damn. That's expensive. Like, I spend less than that for my son and me, but it's just for one meal or so. Like, we only eat it once or twice. We're not eating it the whole week.
Yeah, like $50 is like 5 meals.
Yeah. That's my thing. I've been watching it at night. It makes me fall asleep because it's real soothing to watch people bake bread. I've been watching this new show on NBC called Debris. It's like X-Files. I like that too. My friend Zakia told me about that, so I wanted to talk about it. It's kind of freaky, but it's cool. And that's about it since last week.
Yeah. I don't know, like this whole year for me, 2021 has been like crazy for work. I think about work, I dream about work because it's all the royal stuff. And
well, you're kicking ass at it. Like, you're just writing so much.
But like, I literally wake up in an argument with myself about something, like some royal story or something like that. I can't believe how all-consuming it can be. I work and I walk and then I watch tennis. That's all I have been doing basically this whole past year.
I was walking up to the mailbox today. Like yesterday I took the trash out. I'm glad I never hired the trash pickup because it's something to do every few days is to take the trash to the dump because we don't have the pickup where I live now. And I was going up to the mailbox and I'm like, wow. Imagine this a year ago. I don't believe I've never thought of this before, but it really struck me like, okay, we've been stuck in the house for like a year. Like, it's just, I know it's so basic, but it really struck me how different life is now.
Yeah, and it's going to be weird to even like try to go back to anything pre-pandemic. I was thinking about that, like the things that I would used to do on the weekends, you know, I'm like, no, yeah. I can't go back to that.
I miss going to the movies. I miss going to the gym, especially fitness classes. I miss just being with people and going to the restaurants and to little parties and stuff. And I don't know how much of that I feel comfortable doing again, even after we get vaccinated.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes walking is really difficult for me because my body hurts so much and I'm so sore. And that was happening to me this week. And I've gotten to the age where like when my body really hurts, I'm like, well, this is just how it is now. I'm going to feel like absolute garbage 24/7 now. And then I got my period and I was like, oh shit, that's what it
there
was.
You go. Yes. Do you notice this? Like when you get up, everything cracks. Like my body was never cracking this much before My ankles crack, my knees crack. Everything is cracking.
Well, I'm not like that. My joints aren't kind of like that. Sometimes my knees will crack a little bit.
Okay.
But when I get up and I feel like shit, it's mostly like, oh my God, I literally can't walk because my legs are so sore.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Sometimes that happens to me if I work out hard enough, but I've been kind of going easy on it lately. Although I had that plantar fasciitis where your foot kills so bad you can't walk on your foot. I had that last week. Anyway, yeah, we're getting old. So let's talk about the royals, because that's all there is to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, there are a few other stories, but the royal stuff is just major.
It's all consuming.
Yeah.
So last weekend, Kate visited the memorial for the young woman who was murdered walking home, Sara Everard. And Kate wasn't wearing a mask. And she brought her own videographer.
Allegedly.
And the photo of her doing that dominated the headlines the next day instead of the woman who was killed.
Yeah. The videographer was allegedly from Sky News. I mean, I believe he was from Sky News.
Yeah.
But I think that they arranged it. Someone from Kensington Palace was like, hey, Kate is going to be at the memorial at a certain time. Bring your camera. I mean, she was actively posing. That's why she went maskless. And her security stood back so that the guy could get a clean shot of her.
And she gave those quotes, too, about how she used to walk alone before she was married. She couldn't talk about the woman who was murdered or about how dangerous it is for young women on the streets. And she didn't have to touch the fact that the guy who murdered her was a cop. But she could have made a stronger statement that wasn't about herself. Sorry, I'm mad about this. It really pisses me off.
No, it's really disgusting that she pulled this stunt and she ended up pulling attention away from a murder victim and the women who were out trying to remember Sarah, and they were being punished by the cops for being there.
And after that, the cops arrested a bunch of women.
Yeah. Whether
it was a vigil or a protest is irrelevant. They arrested women who were mourning a murder. We talked about this on Zoom, and I just wanted to play this segment. This is Sara and Ameerah.
Well, now she's the advocate for all women. And it was a protest. When it's women, it's a vigil. It's not a protest, despite the fact that it is both. It is a vigil, but it's also protesting the fact that it's a bloody cop that did it. But, you know, everything related to the vigil said, come with a mask, like socially distance and what. And there just happened to be off-duty Sky reporters there. Again, it's just so amateurish. If you truly wanted that to be a proper, like, oh, well done, Kate, you leak it, not like there, and then it comes out like a few days later because all the front pages were about Kate. Sara Everard was second place in the story of her own murder.
That cover was so vile. That cover with her face in the corner and the whole cover being Kate. I'm like, this is what she wanted. She took this as a way of getting publicity. It was so disgusting.
She has profited off the abduction and murder of a woman.
Yeah, as Sara said. And she's replaced a murder victim on the news and on the covers of newspapers the next day.
And you know what? It wouldn't have happened. She wouldn't have pulled this stunt if the Meghan and Harry interview hadn't happened. Like, she wanted that headline. She wanted that to change the subject to her own bullshit, basically.
She wouldn't have done most of the work she's done the past couple of years if it wasn't for Harry and Meghan.
Right. But this was specifically to, like, change the subject away from how she was a total asshole to Meghan and, like, lied about Meghan making her cry for 2.5 years.
And turned it into her being the victim. We'll talk about that in a minute. We got more stories about how angry Prince William is. And a lot of people liked your line, engorged with rage. And they kept saying engorged with rage. That was not in the story.
I didn't put it in quotes. I didn't put it in quotes. I just summarized the reporting, which was he is engorged with rage. I just did a little dramatic flourish.
Everybody in Zoom loved that, and we're laughing about it. And I'll play a segment later where they're talking about that, but everybody is focusing on William being ragey, like they always have. Like, this is the fucking center of their publicity strategy, is that William's angry.
Yeah. I mean, think back even like 2 years ago. It wasn't so focused on his anger, although looking back on it, it was starting to become a story 2 years ago. As the Sussexes became more popular, there started to be widespread reports that William's default emotion towards Harry and Meghan was anger, was rage.
Especially when they were sharing their pain, when they did an African Journey documentary and were like, we were really hurt.
Yeah.
Well, I'm mad that you were hurt. What?
That was the first incident of him being incandescent with rage. That was the first reporting of it. And then it's just gone from there. Like Robert Lacey in his book Battle of Brothers last year, he made some very pointed comments about William's anger and how angry and like violently angry he would get in this situation, which was just not called for. Use your words. You're a grown man.
Use your words. Use your words.
But like, you know, he's like basically like spitting and throwing tantrums and punching walls because someone is not doing something that he likes. That's it.
Yeah, it's pretty outrageous that they've focused on that and that they just don't let up. And that's indicative of every story. They get a point and they just try to keep hammering it home. And it's so ham-fisted and terrible and obvious.
Yeah, and like, that's what I don't get. That's the story that William wants out there, is that he's incandescent with rage. Are we supposed to be scared about that? Like, what is the reaction he's trying to get from us? From the public?
He doesn't think that far. He wants to intimidate people because that's how he operates in his circle.
Yeah, I guess. You would think that at some point he would say, you know, what is my public relations image? Like, do I want to be known as the angry guy? The guy who throws tantrums over anything and everything?
Yeah. So he's also mad about the fact that Gayle King spoke with Harry over the weekend to check up on him. And Harry said that he'd been contacted by William and his dad, Charles, finally, but that they refused to acknowledge their racism and that the talks were not productive. Mm-hmm. And they didn't talk to Meghan. And then we heard that William was super mad that Harry said this to Gayle King, and is he going to go run into the American television shows every time they speak? Well, that's what William's been doing for years, is running to the press and leaking it through sources.
And he literally ran to Katie Nichol at Vanity Fair to tell him how mad he was that Harry spoke to Gayle King. It's just this toxic cycle with William. Oh, he's so mad. He's going to throw a tantrum about it. That Harry can speak for himself. That Harry has allies in the American media now.
And how many times can they be outplayed by the Sussexes and show their hands? The Sussexes aren't even doing anything. Like, they're just like, here you go. Here's some rope, you know? Yeah. Every time they're sucking at this so bad.
And they did that before the interview too. That was what was really funny. It was so obvious before the interview. The Windsors, all of them, Charles, the Queen, everyone included, they were just so obvious in throwing all of this shit at Harry and Meghan in the hopes of just smearing them before Harry and Meghan got a chance to tell their story. All of that ended up proving all the points that they made in the interview.
Yes, exactly. So Gayle King said also that Harry and Meghan wanted to move forward and that they both want healing in this family. At the end of the day, that is Harry's family.
Gayle spilled massive tea, and like, she underlined several points for the Windsors and for the British press, I believe.
Okay.
She was like, look, William, Charles, you guys need to be in touch with Meghan. You need to check in on Meghan, because Harry is not going to have a productive conversation with you until you recognize his wife, until you recognize that his wife has suffered and is suffering now by your hateful smear campaign.
That was the subtext, yeah.
So that was one part of it. And then the other part of it was she just had to underline the point, Meghan and Harry have all the receipts. They have proof of what they're saying.
So also, people are wondering if Meghan has just kind of written off Harry's family, which is the logical thing to do at this point. And if Harry's the one who's still trying to work with them. He talked about this in the interview. He didn't really see it until he was out of it because he's still stuck in that royals mindset and thinking he can reason with them. He doesn't see how bad it is yet and how he can't reconcile with them.
Right. And like they're talking about it like deprogramming himself from a cult. That's what it is akin to. I would say that Harry had to say something nice. He had to say something positive. I do think that he's still working his shit out psychologically. Yeah. I do think that he would like to have a relationship with his father and his brother at some point in the future. I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's a wide-eyed optimist about that. If anything, Meghan has shown that she's willing to compromise. I always got the sense that she was more go along to get along. And that Harry was the one putting his foot down and saying, no, we have to go.
That's a good point. And he was very protective of her and wanted to save her and Archie.
Right.
So we talked about this on Zoom, and this is Karen, Sara, Olnaz, and Michelle.
I am enjoying the fact that narcissist William is really upset that he can no longer control the narrative and that Harry is pushing back, and Harry has found a friendly media outlet that he can tell his stuff to. But in his case, he's not pretending that it's a source, the source being William. No, it's me. It's me saying this. And so the palace cannot make up what story they want to stick with. And it's like, oh my gosh, they're trashing. I said, okay, that's really a strong word. And with him saying, yeah, we talked, but it was unproductive, to me was not controversial because they had already leaked that they spoke. And he just confirmed, yeah, we spoke. We didn't get anywhere, but we spoke.
What did make me laugh, because the word choice in that about trashing, I read it and I was like, oh, hi, Jason. That's not like an automatic word for a Brit. We'd say like rubbishing or... I mean, I don't think the palace is going to say, oh, they were slagging me off. The vernacular's not quite right for a British person, but some of them have definitely had like little flags.
But like Kaiser's reporting on this has been excellent because she really speaks to not only who's saying what, but what is not being said or what is not being done. Like the fact of William not even bothering to call, really speaks to how he really feels and what's really going on. And I think in one of her articles too, the fact that what's getting out in the press is how William is engorged with rage over Harry doing the interview. Bitch, like your brother and sister-in-law are talking about how hurt they are and your first reaction is to be engorged with rage. Like something is wrong with you. And Kaiser has been so good about reporting on all of that.
And how does it sound good to you to leak that you're engorged with rage? Like,
also, engorged just always makes me think of 10 things I hate about you.
Yes.
So that was a really good point that Sara made, that trashing is not a British word. It's an American word, and it sounded like it came straight from Jason Knopf, their publicist or PR person. And Michelle is right. Your reporting is excellent. And I like the analysis you've been doing. It's been really teaching me about it as well. And then everybody joked about the engorged line. A couple people were grossed out, but mostly they appreciated it and thought it was hilarious.
I mean, I just think that when you see William and his like red face and his stupid bald head.
What do they call him? Okay, they called him Baldymort, but they also called him penis with teeth. Like, I was deleting a lot of those comments because I thought they were kind of obnoxious, the penis with teeth comments. But that was a common way of referring to him a couple months ago.
Yeah, I love Baldymort. I think that's hilarious.
Baldymort is cute.
And I said something about balding him.
Baldingham. Baldingham, Alice. Oh my God, Baldingham. I haven't heard that one before. So the royals have also hired a law firm to investigate the Meghan bullied staff lie that they were pushing. But they're not going to tell us what the findings are. They're not going to let Meghan's side see the supposed evidence. And they're just doing this to put out the story that, oh, it's serious. Yes, we even hired a law firm. Like, give me a break.
I think it's very interesting that they hired a law firm because they did it after the interview. And my interpretation of that whole thing is that the Queen and Buckingham Palace know that it's a lost cause, the whole Meghan bullied staff thing. And so they're just trying to get it off their plate. They don't want any part of Kensington Palace's smear job anymore. So they're like, we're going to hire an outside law firm. Apparently, Meghan contacted Buckingham Palace and she asked for documentation. She asked for, what they are looking into, what kind of documentation they have. And Buckingham Palace handed that over to Clarence's house. So now Charles is going to determine what document she has access to. Yeah, so they're giving her the runaround.
I didn't know that they gave it to Clarence's house and told Charles to handle it. That's ridiculous. Meanwhile, I hope they're talking to Meghan's lawyer and that she has her lawyers on this. And I'm sure she's not personally dealing with it.
Yeah, she does. From all the reporting around it, she does. And from all the reporting on it, I'm guessing that Buckingham Palace is not into this investigation whatsoever. They don't want any part of it, even though Kensington Palace is still trying to make it happen. Like, William really wants to paint his sister-in-law as this malicious bully, even though no one's buying it except for the racists.
It doesn't fit with her personality at all. And it's outrageous. The Cambridges also released Mother's Day cards. Mother's Day was Sunday in the UK. And they had cards that their kids wrote to Granny Diana saying they loved her. First of all, where's Kate? Kate's their mom. And then they didn't acknowledge Carol, their other grandma, till later. And who has kids write cards to their late grandparents? I've never heard of that. Supposedly they have called her Granny Diana before, so that's a thing they're doing. But that's really obvious and creepy.
Yeah, if it was a normal thing that they were doing every Mother's Day, maybe it wouldn't have come across so creepy, but because it was coming on the heels of Kate exploiting a dead woman and Kate and William being exposed as the, liars and hateful racists that they are, it did come across as exploitive.
And William was super mad that Harry used a photo of Diana when he first launched the Archewell site and wrote that he was his mother's son. Mm-hmm. But now it's fine for him to have his kids or somebody using their left hand so it looks a little messier, right? I got that from Zoom. I did not come up with that. Somebody else came up with it. I wish I remembered.
It was Carol. Carol used her left hand.
I think Karen said that. My friend Karen said it in the Zoom. But those kids are 5 and 7 and they're writing like adults, but okay, maybe they just copied it. Anyway.
There's a lot of creepy shit happening in and around Will and Kate and their family.
The curtain is, so far, it's on the ground now. I mean, there's nothing. They cannot maintain this facade of royalty anymore. Or that's what royalty has always been. Is this terrible white supremacist organization that elevates less than mediocre people who do not work at all.
Uh-huh. Whose idea of work is cosplaying shamrocks.
It would be cute if she actually did work and she dressed like that. We would not care. We'd think it was a cute quirk, but it's her whole job is getting dressed.
But she does it herself, Katie.
She puts on her clothes. Somebody else buttons them. They said she picked them out. But that she didn't put them on. I mean, they didn't specify whether she put them on. Because I remember we talked about this in another podcast. But she picks them out. So we also heard that Prince Charles was going to do a point-by-point rebuttal of the claims in Harry's and Meghan's interview, but he didn't want to get into a, quote, tit for tat. Mm-hmm. Oh, come on. That's what people always say. Oh, I would say something, but you couldn't take it. Come on.
I just wonder. I wonder about the statement issued by Buckingham Palace about some recollections may vary. And it was a very short, almost terse statement. And from what we're starting to understand is that the Queen isn't really in charge and that Charles is the de facto regent. So what is Charles's game here? When he acts as regent, he's trying to mimic the Queen's voice, but when he's left to his own devices, he wants to be as petty as possible. I don't know. That whole situation is very complicated.
And William is very much his father's son then.
Yeah.
Until the latest season of The Crown came out, Charles was maintaining this image of the elder statesman who was into gardening and the environment. And now he seems like a petty asshole who bullied his wife and is bullying his son's wife.
Right. Charles literally waged a 15-year campaign to get the public to accept Camilla as his wife and the future queen consort and to rehabilitate his image post-Diana. What we see now is that it was always deep as a puddle.
Yeah.
That image change. Like, it was effectively torpedoed by one season of The Crown. And by... That's all it took. Really.
Yeah. Yeah. So last week we were talking on the podcast that Kate has serious issues to keep pushing this Meghan made her cry story and playing the victim when that's not how it went down and it happened 2 years ago. And she's still using those talking points, or her husband's PR team is still using those talking points. And Katie Nichol wrote in the Daily Mail that Kate found Meghan bringing up that story in the interview mortifying. It's been a very hard few days for Kate. She's been saddened, disappointed, and hurt. Oh my God, you cannot vary from that. She cannot let it go.
Yeah, it's just
Like,
the Karen. It's the Karen syndrome.
Not see that they would come across so much better if they would just say, I'm sorry, I didn't notice at the time. I really wish I'd handled that differently. That's all you gotta say.
And from Meghan's own words, Kate did own up to it. Kate did apologize for what she did. So why the 2.5-year crazy smear where Kate assumes the mantle of victim? Meghan made her cry. And she's just holding on to that victimhood status.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yes. Someone in the comments was talking about how Kate is the daughter of a narcissist and she married a narcissist. It's an interesting thing to think about and to like analyze from that perspective. But once again, you're not giving Kate any agency.
She doesn't have any, though. She doesn't.
She has a lot more than people think.
Okay.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, I don't think she's blameless at any level at all. So Michelle Obama was asked about the Sussexes interview in a couple of interviews she had promoting her new Netflix nutrition and cooking series for kids. And she spoke about it with Access Hollywood and then to Jenna Bush on the Today Show. And she talked around it, but it sounded like she was being shady.
Yeah, let me just start here. There was a lot of comment like, how dare you think that Michelle should even talk about this? I know that they were like not even talking about me and what I wrote. They were like talking to other commenters half the time. I never said that Michelle needed to speak about any of this. And considering her comments, she should not have.
Yeah.
She should have found a way to say no comment. She's a professional woman. She has agency. She was first lady for 8 fucking years. She should have found a way to just say, I don't really want to talk about it because I know the Queen, I know Harry and Meghan, I know all the people involved. If I have something to say,
point.
I'm going to say it to them.
That's a good point, yeah.
Instead, she went to a really shady place. And it was actually like really uncomfortable to read her comments. Oh, it was not good.
So I feel like we should play them or read them to people.
Well, like, all right, the big one that everyone was talking about first was her Access Hollywood comment.
She said, I think that the thing that I hope for and the thing I think about is that this, first and foremost, is a family. I pray for forgiveness and healing for them so that they can use this as a teachable moment for us all.
Well, that was the comment to the Today Show. She was talking about teachable moments.
No, you're right. That was Today Show. My bad. I'm reading it wrong. She said that in the Today Show.
Yeah.
In Access Hollywood, she said something really similar about family. So these are her talking points. She used it twice. She wasn't caught off guard.
This is what she figured out what she wanted to say, and this is what she wanted to say. So
in Access Hollywood, she said, I think about the importance of family, and I just pray that there is forgiveness and there is clarity and love and resolve at some point in time, because there's nothing more important than family. So,
which is really fucked up. It's really fucked up to say to someone who said, I left my family because they were racially abusing me, because they were racist, and because they would do nothing about my suicidal pregnant wife being terribly abused on a daily basis in the press. They would not step in and do anything to help her, and they would not do anything to step up to the press. So she's saying, forgive your family? Fuck that.
Let's just say one thing about Michelle. We love her, and she's never stepped in it this far before. And I think what she did here is she focused on the press and what she went through as POTUS, and extrapolated and kind of generalized what happened to her to Harry and Meghan. And her position is, you just take it. And I think she doesn't get that it goes beyond that. And who knows if she even watched the interview, if she just saw the highlights. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and it's not all or nothing. I love and respect Michelle. I think she's an amazing person. She's wrong on this. You can think both of those things.
Yeah, exactly. I think, too, she comes from such a close family. I didn't read her entire biography, but I read the beginning. And her description of her family, like, she has an idyllic family life. She had one. And now she's married to this wonderful guy who's been excellent to her for decades. I mean, they've had problems, but I don't think she truly gets what dysfunction is or what toxicity is.
And, like, she was making it about interracial marriages and, like, how most people in interracial relationships are going to have problems. And I was just like, what are you even going on about? And
she was digging that hole.
Yeah, it was very weird that she couldn't even do like a baseline, like every person has the right to tell their own story. Just something very simple that would
my heart goes out to them.
Right. Here's another part, like, about why Michelle didn't have to say anything or why she should have chosen to say something else. This is a huge story, and it's something that even the White House has commented on. It's something that politicians are commenting on. It's a big story. It involves royalty, it involves race, it involves sexism, and it involves the media. You are allowed to have an opinion of this if you are a public figure. You should have an opinion about this. To see her fuck it up, it really bothers me.
And it's Michelle Obama. Like, she never messes up like this. This is the first time we've ever really disagreed with something she said. I mean, the go high part was a little Pollyanna-ish.
Yeah.
But you can understand that and why she would have to do that. And you can also understand why she doesn't want to fully comment on this while she's promoting something else, but she could have been much vaguer and nicer about it.
Yeah. In the second, we'll play what Hillary Clinton said, which was so supportive, which was so clear in what she wanted to say and respectful of Meghan's story, of Harry's story. I mean, Hillary Clinton's comments were like the gold standard, and maybe Michelle's comments were harmed because they came after Hillary. Michelle could have done better.
Hillary made these comments before Michelle did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay. I didn't hear them yet, and you had sent them to me, and I was like, wow, I miss her. Like, I've thought about her a lot over the past few years, but it was really excellent what she said.
Like, Hillary said this 1 or 2 days after the interview aired. Like, you could tell that she had watched the whole thing and had really strong feelings about it. I didn't cover it at the time because that was like immediately post-interview and there are a million other things happening.
You had so much other stuff to cover.
Yeah.
So here's the segment from that where Hillary talks about the Sussexes interview.
Their cruelty in going after Meghan was just outrageous. And the fact she did not get more support, the reaction was, let's just paper it over and pretend that it didn't happen or it will go away. Just keep your head down. Well, this young woman was not about to keep her head down. This is 2021, and she wanted to live her life. She wanted to, be fully engaged, and she had every right to hope for that. These two young people, because by my standards, they still are young, are not only standing up for themselves and for their children, but they're really trying to send a message about what institutions, including the one that they were part of, need to do to be more dynamic and forward-looking than they currently are. Every institution has got to make more space and acceptance for young people coming up, particularly young women, who should not be forced into a mold that is no longer relevant, not only for them, but for our society.
I like how she brought it back to the fact that they're bringing up important issues that are systemic issues that we have to pay attention to as a society, and that institutions have to change.
Right.
Yeah.
Hillary gets it, and I wonder why Michelle didn't even want to bring it around to that.
Because of what she went through. Michelle probably feels like she could have never done that. Like, she probably has regret and guilt over her own experiences where she didn't speak out against systemic racism and she just took it. And she might feel shitty about herself and be projecting that too.
I don't think that at all. I don't. I think Michelle thinks that she handled it the right way and that Meghan and Harry are handling it the wrong way. I think it's just that simple.
It amazes me sometimes how people can have such negative takes on them and watch them and be anything but impressed by how open and vulnerable they are. And it's like, no matter what they do, they're going to get hate and dislike, even from people who you think would be allies to them. Although this one is a real doozy. So we talked about this on Zoom. And this is Olnaz and Zakiya.
On Kaiser's stories, or like even what Michelle Obama said, is that some people still say, oh no, but it's family. They have to, make peace or whatever. And sometimes you just got to leave that toxic situation and you build your family elsewhere. Just because you're blood, then it's not right. Oh no, but it's family. So they have to get back together. And so some people just don't get it. I find that crazy.
Well, I think too with Harry, I think it was really shocking for him with his own family, because when he first sent out the letter about Meghan to the reporters, he said Meghan will finally have the family that she always wanted. So I think Harry, he thought it was going to go a different way. So when we were talking about everybody blaming Meghan and how couldn't she see it, once you are living in it, you do not get a real, complete experience of what you're dealing with. And even sometimes not until you're out of what you've lived in do you even get a better perspective of what you've experienced, right? So once you stand up to your bullies and you don't take it anymore and you stand up for yourself, they actually hate you for loving yourself enough to say, no, I don't deserve it. So then they have to punish you and malign you, because then they have to be validated in their mistreatment of you.
Yeah, it's really about being in a toxic relationship and a toxic family and dealing with narcissism.
Right. And sometimes the healthiest option is to just walk away, to get out, to get away from the toxicity.
They're not going to convince everybody, though. That's the thing. They're not. And it's sad, but they're not. Sorry, go ahead.
It's the same thing over and over again. Like, do I think that, Meghan and Harry are perfect and that they've made perfect choices at every step of the way? Of course not. Their story is imperfect. They're flawed people. They've done some, dumb things here and there. But the overwhelming story is of the abuse that they've suffered at the hands of the press and of Harry's family and of her family. And who could ever, hold it against them that they wanted to just start over and get away from all of that? I don't know.
I think people who are too close to it, who went through something that they think is parallel to it and who handled it a different way. And that's where Michelle's coming from. I'm not saying she's right. I'm just saying maybe that's how it makes sense. And it's really interesting to see her react negatively, because you would not expect that from her.
Yeah, it shocked me. Her comment shocked me. All
right, let's move on to the user feedback. So we got a really nice voicemail from Alyssa, and I wanted to play that. You guys can leave us voicemail anytime, 434-218-3219. You can always text me there. I mean, if I'm working, it might take me a while to get back to you, but you can talk to me if you want. Some people have shot the breeze with me before. So here's that voicemail.
Hey, Celibitchies, this is Alyssa, and I have now been listening to this podcast every week for a year while I go get my curbside grocery orders. And I wanted to thank you guys for being a small snippet of entertainment and enjoyment and what seems like sometimes a sad way of experiencing fellowship. But hey, I'll take it. That's what I could get this past year. But I wanted to thank you guys for being something I could look forward to at the end of a week on my weekly curbside grocery pickup.
That really touched me when she sent that, because it's like she listened to us for a whole year. Like, I can't. I'm still impressed when people tell us they listen to us once. So thank you, for Alyssa.
I think a lot of people have started, or, they'll listen to a podcast here and there because we're in a pandemic, because there's like nothing else to do. But it's nice, that people are listening and laughing, and those comments are always really nice.
It's been a joy to do this too, and I'm really glad to talk to you and create this. I don't know what to say. I felt cheesy when I got halfway through it and I didn't want to finish it. So then I kind of choked.
I was about to call you a sap too.
I was being fucking sappy. All right, let's move on to the comments of the week. So my comment of the week is on Oya's post about Sharon Osbourne doubling down on being a racist twat, basically. She was doing an interview with ET, and she called herself a sacrificial lamb, said she wasn't racist and that she was set up and they were throwing her under the bus. She's just a terrible person. So I have 2 comments of the week, actually. Aaron wrote, "This is the same woman who sent an assistant into her burning house to save some paintings and then fired him for not laughing with her and Ozzy about the situation. She is vile." Like, she did that and she told the story later like it was a decent story to tell and funny. She really did that.
Yeah, she's awful.
And then Mary Cat wrote, "Sacrificial cow, maybe."
Like, sometimes when I get up, I'll turn on the early morning news on ABC.
Oh, okay.
And so the TV will be left on when I turn it on for lunch or something. So I'll catch part of, what's the show called? The Talk?
The Talk, yeah.
Yeah, The Talk. Last week or the week before, the conversation was about the impending Oprah interview. I remember that.
Okay.
And she was talking about how it's going to end in tragedy and it's going to end like Diana. And I was like, holy shit, did she just say that? Did she just say that Harry and Meghan are going to die? Jesus.
She's awful, and she's always disliked Meghan. She's really showing her ass now. If they don't fire her, I hope they're just looking out for the contract details so they can't get sued, and then she'll be fired. She's just an asshole and racist.
I think the people comparing her to the Roseanne Barr situation, I think that's dead on.
That's pretty accurate, yeah.
My comment of the week is from one of our many Jennifer Lopez and Alex Rodriguez stories. All right, so I'll just do a brief summary of what happened. So last Friday, late afternoon, early evening, the sudden announcement that J-Lo and A-Rod are over. And I was like, oh, shit. I mean, it's a surprise to me.
Yeah,
and then by
surprising.
Saturday morning, they were back together. They're like, we're working shit out. And so the whole week has been melodrama about, are they really going to break up? Are they going to, actually have a wedding? Are they going to work on it? I don't know. She seems kind of over it, and that she would only stay in it for the business deals.
Yeah.
And it seems also pretty clear that he's been cheating on her, and she just found out about something really big.
Yeah.
So I said something about how A-Rod has probably been fucking anything with 2 legs and a pulse. And Andrew's nemesis wrote, I don't think that a pulse is a non-negotiable criterion for A-Rod. A garden rake painted with a winsome smile would probably do in a pinch.
Yeah, that's not far off either. He really has DMs going with different reality stars and Instagram models trying to find somebody that constantly.
Oh, I'm sure. He's definitely one of the guys who slips into like Insta models DMs. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. He's the guy who turns his head to look at the waitress as she's walking away. You know, that's the kind of guy he is. Did we talk about this before? There was that madam who said that he spoke to her at the gym and that he used to be one of her good clients for her girls or something.
Was that during the Tiger Woods thing?
It might have been before then. I probably was over 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think I remember that too, because Tiger Woods was using a madam in New York, I think.
Yes, she was in New York, yeah.
The madam said something about how she has a lot of high-profile clients and that A-Rod, something about A-Rod, I think. A-Rod
was one. She met him at the gym. I would say Jennifer Lopez deserves better, but I don't know if she thinks she does.
I think she thinks that she deserves better. She just doesn't know how to find it.
Remember when she dated Drake for like 2 months?
Oh shit, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. And they took a selfie on the couch or something.
Yeah, but that was a weird thing.
Yeah,
that was a weird relationship. And I think he likes really young.
Yeah, he does. It's creepy.
There's going to be a big story about that at some point.
Yeah. All right, we have to talk about something stupid, so we end on a happy note.
Yeah, because now I'm thinking about Drake. Ooh.
Yeah, he's a terrible person. Have you seen his house? It looks like the ugliest hotel.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to explain it. It's so weird and giant.
No, I covered it. He did Architectural Digest or something, and it was just ugly, and it feels like really tacky, especially for Canada specifically. Like, I never think of Canadians as like that showy. You know, like Canadians don't have those big tacky mega mansions.
Yeah.
And like, it was way too showy for a Canadian.
I'll link it in this post. And everything was giant. It was just very weird.
Yeah, his kitchen is like the size of a football stadium. I was thinking about Jennifer Lopez and like who she could date after A-Rod.
You said that Ben Affleck is free. That would be a mess. They're probably talking though. They're the type of people who talk again after they're both broken up.
Well, after he's like complained about her for years and years. Ugh, I hope she doesn't talk to him anymore.
She would. Like, I'm sorry. All right. Thanks for listening, bitches.
Thanks, bitches.
Thank you for listening to the Celebrity Podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you like us, please turn off your ad blocker when you visit our site. You can text us or leave a voicemail at 434-218-3219. Our music is from AA Alto, Maiden, and via Premium Beat and Sound of Picture. Thanks again.